Um, all right, solo ads, I've driven the point home. Here's how we actually do newsletter marketing. The process is pretty simple, and I want everyone to take this home with them. It's all about filtering to find only the most highly responsive lists. So you start out your process with the search. Let's say that we want to look for, so the first question people always ask me is, well, how do I find newsletters to place ads in? If you want to do it the free way, you just go to like Google and you type in something like network marketing plus newsletter. Maybe you guys have done this before. And this is kind of a laborious way. And you go through each one and you look around to see if they have an advertise with us button. Sometimes you can get ads even in newsletters that don't have an advertise with us button. Sometimes, like for here, they're not saying that there's any sort of newsletter ad. But you can call them and say, hey, do you guys do newsletter advertising at all? And they'll say yes or no. And this is how the process starts. Now, the important thing to do at this phase, what I typically do, is I'll just take a list as I find these newsletters, and I'll just like list them out so I have like 100. So I'll just pull up a text pad and list out 100 different newsletters that I find within my niche. Another couple good searches are network marketing plus e-zine. Again, so here's another one. Here goes one. I've actually advertised in this one a long time ago. This guy he actually contributed to my first downline, I remember. Here's a cool thing with newsletter marketing also in the network marketing that's just while I'm thinking about it. Sometimes when you go through the process I'm about to show you, you'll literally have some of the newsletter publishers like join your network marketing opportunity. It definitely has happened to me several times by going through this process we're going through. And that's always cool when it happens. You come to these newsletters, you list them on out, wait till you get about 100 and you'll understand why. And let's pretend that we did that. So you're searching for network marketing, you're searching for newsletters, network marketing plus newsletter, network marketing plus e-zine, network marketing plus solo ad. And you just kind of go through here. Solo ad, yeah, so this is the exact type of website that a lot of people will be like, oh, here's a way to get my stuff in front of a lot of people. This is going to work really well. It's easy and it's responsive. It says it right there. You know, and then they go down and they pay $65 and nothing happens. So this would be an example where you probably don't want to advertise. That's the next stage. Now, I like to speed up this first part of the process. You can also do home business plus newsletter plus solo ad plus e-zine. You can do work from home mom. I'll tell you guys a few of my favorite ones that I've had success with at the end. Plus solo ad, plus e-zine, plus newsletter, internet marketing, all these things, and you compile your big list. But the way I like to do it, guys, honestly, I'm kind of lazy, is I go to the directory of e-zines because it's basically an archive of all the stuff I would have to do myself. And I just go in and I search for network marketing newsletters that accept solo ads. Then I do a search for internet marketing newsletters that accept solo ads, and it just pops out lists for me instead of me having to search. So it just saves me a ton of time. Directory of e-zines costs, it's either, it changes the price, but it's like either $97 for a year or $197 for a month for a lifetime membership, and it's always been worth it to me. Like, if you're serious about newsletter marketing, you will make your money back in spades if you use the resource the way it's meant to be used. So those are the two ways to search for newsletters. The next thing you do once you have a list, after you search, the next thing that you do is you go back to each of those newsletters and you qualify them, okay? Does the website look professional or does it look like crap? So here's some signs that a newsletter, you know, a website looks professional. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to be the best looking website in the world. This is one of my favorite ones. I told you I was going to share with you some of them. This is professional looking. It's not flashy or anything, but what it doesn't do, it's not like, hey, advertise with us, you'll make a ton of money, right? It looks just like a newsletter. It looks just like a, very simple site. You're kind of like, I didn't even know it existed, but there is an advertising button. This is an example of a good-looking newsletter. If it looks decent, keep it on the list. I'm not saying just get rid of everything just because it doesn't look perfect. But if you find a newsletter that looks like, the pages you'll find that'll have like the bright purple background and the green headline letters, I'd probably get rid of that. Remove that from your main list. Also, if you find a newsletter that literally sells you hard and aggressively on why you need to advertise with their publication, I would remove that from the list because there's a reason they're selling, because they have to. Good newsletters are just like any other good referral business. If you go there and you have good results, you're coming back. So they don't need to advertise, and they like to keep a smaller clientele base of recurring income. So what's going to happen after you qualify those newsletters is you're probably going to get rid of about half of them. So that list of 100 is going to drop to about 50. The next step is you just go to like yahoo.com or gmail.com, and you create a new Gmail account or you create a new Yahoo account, and you go to all of these newsletters and you subscribe to them. Why? Because if we want to realize revenue from our newsletter advertising, well, we want to see what it's like from the subscriber side. So you want to opt into all the newsletters that you qualified on the first round, and you want to literally read the content. If there's more ads than there is content, we'll disqualify it, because if you're not excited to open it on any level, probably no one else is either. If, on the other hand, you get that content, you subscribe, and the newsletter and the editions you get are filled with good, either basic or really cool stuff. Maybe it's beginners and it's positioned for beginners, but it's good stuff. There's probably people that really love being on that publication. So let it pass. Again, you'll probably get rid of about 50% of the newsletter, so you're down to like 25 once you qualify based on content. The next thing that you do, and this is a part that very few people ever do, is you physically go back to those remaining 25 newsletters that are like your hot list now, and you contact the publisher personally. So you go to them and you either call them. I like to call them if I can. If not, I'll send them an email, and I'll basically say something like, so I'll give the questions in a second, but I'll basically in that email on that call say, hey, I'm a happy subscriber to your newsletter. I really liked your edition when you talked about XYZ, and I really think that I might have a good match of an offering for your subscriber base. I noticed that you accept advertising. Is the advertising rate still the same? By the way, here's what I'm getting ready to here's my offer, explain it a little bit. Here's my ad. Can you let me know, traditionally, how well do these offers do with your newsletter? And you'll send that off to, say, 25 people. What I found is about 15% of those 25 will actually respond back. So you've gone from a list of 100 down to, I don't know, what's that, 4, 5, 4? That's about 4. And the reason that you do this last qualification step is there's a couple reasons. Number one, you want to make sure someone's home. If they don't respond back, you don't want to send anyone money. So don't send money to people that don't respond back, right? Number two, you want to get as much competitive intelligence as you possibly can. So if you send that email or you give that person a call, you may find that, for instance, let me go to money making mommies. Oh, it's not there anymore. What is it? Oh, no, no. I forgot. .com. News.com. Here we go. This is also one of the first newsletters I ever did an ad with. The lady that runs this newsletter, her name is Stacy Perez, and I gave her a call, and she was just like the nicest person in the world. She was there at the beginning when I started. She still got her newsletter here, and you know, I'll talk to her from time to time. You'll find out they're good people, and they'll give you good info. They'll say, yeah, especially if you're promoting a business opportunity, if there's a hot opportunity you're trying to promote. Like when I started my first opportunity, there was a lot of people that were starting to advertise. And it behooves you to ask that question of, hey, has anyone advertised something similar recently? And Stacy, I remember, answered me 5 years ago, yeah, about 3 weeks ago, someone did an ad for that company, and it did pretty well. I said, well, heck, time for another shot. Well, now, what if they said the opposite? Yeah, we've had people that advertise this sort of stuff, and, you know, it hasn't really worked. I don't know if it's going to work for us. Then what do? You don't send any money. So don't send money if they give you negative feedback. You don't send money if they don't contact you back. And you'll end up with 2 or 3 good newsletters that are worth you actually risking your money to place an ad with. That is the most important part of this whole newsletter thing. And remember, it's only solo ads only. Only solo ads only. So one of the last questions I haven't answered yet is how to write a solo ad. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's going to like save you $1,000 as soon as I do. But let me answer something that I know is probably like a lot of people are going to ask this because it's been asked to me before. So 8Deagan, what's the best day to send a newsletter ad out on? How often can I mail the same newsletter? These 2 questions. They get asked all the time. The answer to both of them is, number 1, I like to send my newsletters at the beginning of the month. So I typically like to choose, like for instance, I have a long-term deal going on with these guys, and around the first month, actually, let me see if I can pull it up in my email inbox. Let me pause the screen just in case there's something unsavory. Okay, give me a second here, guys.
Just off the cuff, man, I know it's going to, there are some questions about, like, cost, and it's obviously going to depend on, you know, quality, but what do you, can you kind of give a gauge as to what you look for based on subscribers and against quality, like kind of your equation?
Yeah, I will in a second.
Cool.
So here it is, like, for instance, here's one of my solo ads, and I probably set this deal up like 3 months ago. It's going on April 5th. So as I said, I always like to do it the first Monday of the month. Why? Because people typically get paid at the beginning of the month, at the end of the month. So, and they have a whole nother month of work to look forward to or not look forward to. So let's get them early. So that's just what I like to do. Whether or not statistically it's valid that it's the best time to do so, I don't know. It's just what I like to do. So that's my answer to that one. How often can you mail the same list with the same exact newsletter? The way that you figure that out is by asking the publisher a question you can add to what I told you guys a few minutes ago is, you know, by the way, how fast does your subscriber base grow? And if they answer like, oh, we grow by 1,000 people a week and it's a 10,000 person list, they're probably lying. They're probably overestimating to you. I typically, if whatever they say, I'll discount it by about 60%. But if it's growing at a reasonable rate, like for instance back here in these stats, this newsletter, and there's lots of littler ones that are hitting. That's where some of these other spikes are coming from. But this newsletter that hits, literally it's the same exact ad that goes out every single month. And the reason I can do that is because every month that list grows like, you know, like a chia pet. It just grows like crazy. So how often you can mail the same list with your same exact newsletter ad is based on how fast the list is growing, not the size of it. Your profitability in terms of your own business is also the same way. It's based more on the speed of growth of your business, the number of leads coming in, than like your total database. Like I showed you my old autoresponder, there's I think 98 or some thousand leads, 98,000 leads or so left. There's life left there, but it's not growing. So to say, hey, this newsletter is worth a ton of money is not, I mean, it absolutely is to me, but it's not worth the same amount as a newsletter that had grown to 98,000 people in the last 6 months. So just so you guys understand that. The speed of growth, acceleration of leads coming into your business is where a lot of your income and the fresh lead, the money is coming from. The reason is a lot of network marketers bow out early. They might get involved in a business for like 30 days, 60 days, and give up and be like, oh, forget about this. I'm going to go back to work. It's easier. So there's a lot of people that are falling off. That's why it's also good to email twice a day, because the lifespan of a lot of our leads is not very long. The lifespan of our good diehard fans, like everyone here, is a lifetime. And our goal is to find as many cool people like us as possible. Cost. In terms of cost, I typically go with what the newsletter publisher gives me initially. I want to trust them on it. So then I will then adjust accordingly. I will say to the newsletter publisher, and so another thing is, when I do a newsletter ad, I use the same ad for all the different newsletters because I want a standardization. I want to know that this ad worked well here, this ad worked well here, it worked well here, didn't work well here, it's not me, it's you. So I'll give everyone the first chance at their rate card, and then if it doesn't work, I'll either just drop it or I'll say, hey, I'll think about advertising with you again, but like I can't do it at the same rate. If you're open to giving me an ad for 50%, I'll do one if you have like a remnant space day. Does that answer the question, Brian?
Dude, my phone died. I just called into my cell phone. I missed the last like 2 minutes. I just got back on. So I'm not exactly sure what you just said, man.
No worries. It was sage wisdom. That's what it was.
Well, I'll go back and listen to the recording for sure. You're dropping nuggets, man. There's a lot of questions about that because you showed that that image again. People were asking in that example where you did generate 2,000 leads in a day. Was we talking that subscriber base is growing 10,000 per month, and we're looking at a $2,000 solo ad? Can you just throw some kind of, I don't know, guesstimates at some of that stuff?
Yeah, we're not there yet. We'll take that sort of question at the end.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Because you guys don't even know how to create a solo ad yet. Why are you asking these questions?
They're excited, man. They're asking about that. They want to be that image tomorrow. They're piling up.
Yeah, of course. That's what like we're here for. Like, you got to be the guy that goes out and like spends money unabashedly and tracks, because most people won't. That's like an inherent part of my value, really, is because I'm like, here's what it looks like. Here's the results. How much faster do you get your own results when someone's just like, no, here it is. Here's what I just did. Dude, I wish someone would do that for me. I would pay premium price right now for someone to just give me all their ad results. I would do it.